Today we're on page 59 in our notebooks. I want you to go ahead and pause your video so that it looks just like mine. This is your warm-up for today. It says determine the y-intercept and constant rate of change, and then write the equation for the table below. Your learning goal says learn to solve two-step equations involving addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And your language goal says write the steps in which you would take to solve each equation. It's very important that you guys write all of these steps. Example A is 5x plus 2 is equal to 17. So let's pretend that I actually knew that there was a number in place of this x. If there were a number there, I know that that would be multiplication. So in my flowchart to the right of this, I want to start with the variable that I'm given. So I start with x. But again, if I knew that number, what I would be doing is multiplying by 5. And then my next step I would be to do 5 times x. So that's what goes here. 5 times x is just 5x. My next step would be to add that 2. So I'm going to add 2 here. Well, 5x plus 2 is 5x plus 2. Then you have an equal sign here, and that equal sign, it equals 17. So now what I have to do is I have to do my undo steps. So those are my do steps, and these are going to be my undo steps. And remember on Friday I said that we always use our undo steps. So the undo step would be to look up here and see what I have up here. Up there I have adding 2. Well, in order for me to undo that, I need to subtract 2. So first I'm going to draw a line through my equal sign, and I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. 2 minus 2 is 0. Those cancel each other out. I bring down this 5x, and I bring down the equal sign, and 17 minus 2 gives me 15. So 17 minus 2 gives me 15. So go ahead and put that in your flowchart. Then I look up here. The opposite of multiplication is division, so I'm going to be dividing by 5. Remember, I divide by 5 on both sides, so that equal sign. And x is equal to 3, because 15 divided by 5 is 3. So 15 divided by 3 gives me 3, and then I have my answer, which is x is equal to 3, just like I have here. Now I have to check my answer, so I rewrite my equation. 5x plus 2 is equal to 17. I have to plug in that 3 into my x, and I have 5 times 3 plus 2 is equal to 17. Well, I know that 5 times 3 is 15, and then if I add 2 to that, that gives me 17. So my left side is equal to my right side, so I can check that out. So I know that my answer is 3. Example B is 24 is equal to 7x minus 25. So I'm going to use this flowchart again. So first I start with my variable. Well, again, if I knew the number that was in place of that x, I know I'd be multiplying. So I'm multiplying this by 7. Well, x times 7 is 7x. The next thing I would do is subtract 25. And so when I do 7x minus 25, that leaves me with 7x minus 25. Because there's a variable in there, there's nothing else that I can really do there. So then I have this equal sign, and that equal sign is equal to 24. So 24 is going to go here. Remember that I have to do my undo steps. So the undo step of minus 25 would be to add 25. So I want to go ahead and do that on my problem here. So I want to add 25. Make sure that you are lining up the 25s together. Remember, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. Well, negative 25 plus 25 is 0, so I can cross those out. Bring down your 7x and your equal sign, and then 24 plus 25. Well, 4 plus 5 is 9, and 2 plus 2 is 4, so I have 49. So 24 plus 25 gave me 49. Now I have to look at this other do step and do the undo step. The undo step of multiplication would be to divide, and I'm dividing by 7 on both sides. So I'm going to take my 7, I'm going to divide by 7, and then I'm going to divide by 7 on the other side. 7 divided by 7 is 1, but I don't actually have to write the 1, so I bring down that x, and x is equal to 49 divided by 7, which is 7. So my answer is x is equal to 7. So let's double check our answer. So I have 24 is equal to 7x minus 25. We'll have to plug in that 7 into my x, so I have 24 is equal to 7 times 7 minus 25. Well, 24 is equal to 7 times 7 gives me 49, and then 49 minus 25. Well, let's see, 49 minus 25. 9 minus 5 is 4, 4 minus 2 is 2, so that gives me 24. Well, my left side is equal to my right side, 24 is equal to 24. Therefore, my answer is 7. Example C says n divided by 4 plus 7 is equal to 22. Remember, I always start with my variable, whether it's x, whether it's y, whether it's n. I always start with my variable. Well, I also know that a fraction means division, so I'm going to be dividing by 4 here. Well, n divided by 4 is just that fraction, n divided by 4. My next step would be to add 7. Well, n divided by 4 plus 7 is just n divided by 4 plus 7. And that's equal to that 22. Now I have to look up here. So the opposite of addition would be subtraction, so I need to subtract 7. Well, 22 minus 7, let's go ahead and do that. 7 minus 7 is 0. Those cancel each other out, so I'm going to bring this down. N divided by 4 is equal to 22 minus 7. Well, I can't do 2 minus 7, so I've got to borrow. This becomes a 1. This becomes a 12. 12 minus 7 gives me 5. And then I bring down the 1. So now what I have to do is I have n divided by 4 is equal to 15. So 22 minus 7 gave me 15. Now I have to look up here. The opposite of division would be multiplication, so I multiply by 4. So let's go ahead and multiply by 4 on both sides here. These are going to cancel each other out, so I'm left with n is equal to 15 times 4. So let's see what 15 times 4 is. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 1 is 4, and 4 plus 2 is 6. So n is equal to 60. Let's box in our answer and put our answer here. So in our flow chart, I have n is equal to 60. So I need to check my answer. So I have n divided by 4 plus 7 is equal to 22. So in place of this n, I'm going to put that 60. So I have 60 divided by 4 plus 7 is equal to 22. Well, let's see what 60 divided by 4 is. 4 goes into 6 one time. 6 minus 4 is 2. Bring down your 0. 4 goes into 25 times. I'm left over with no remainder. So now I have 15 plus 7 is equal to 22. So what is 15 plus 7? 15 plus 7. 7 plus 5 gives me 12. And then 1 plus 1 gives me 22. So what I know is that 22 is equal to 22, and those check each other out. We have example D. This says negative 25 is equal to r divided by 3 minus 11. You remember I always start with my variable in my flowchart? And my variable is telling me that I'm going to be dividing by 3. Then my next step would be r divided by 3, which just gives me r divided by 3. And then my next step would be to subtract 11, because that's what's given next to my equation. Well, r divided by 3 minus 11 gives me r divided by 3 minus 11. And that's all equal to that negative 25. Remember, I always have to look at my do step, because I always want to do the opposite of that. So the opposite of minus 11 would be to add 11. Well, negative 25 plus 11. So let's go ahead and do that on our equation. So negative 25 plus 11. It's really important that you line those 11s up. Negative 11 plus 11 gives me 0. I can cross those out. So I'm left with r divided by 3 is equal to negative 25 plus 11. Well, this is a rational number. It's a negative number. And so anytime that I have a positive and a negative and I want to add those, What I actually want to do is the opposite. I want to actually subtract them. So 25 minus 11. 5 minus 1 gives me 4. 2 minus 1 gives me 1. So I have 14. But remember that after I subtract them, I want to keep the sign of the larger number. Well, my larger number is 25, and that happens to be negative. So my answer should be negative 14. So that's going to go in this next bubble here. Well, the opposite of dividing by 3 would be to multiply by 3. So I have to do 14 divided by 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3, and 3 plus 1 is 4. So I get 42. Remember to draw your triangle so that you can see which one, if my answer should be positive or negative. So I have a negative and I have a positive. Well, I'm left with a negative, so I know my answer should be negative 42. So those cancel. I'm left with r is equal to negative 42. So in my last bubble here, it's going to be negative 42. But I still have to check my work. So I have negative 25 is equal to r divided by 3 minus 11. In place of that r, I'm going to put that negative 42. So negative 25 is equal to negative 42 divided by 3 minus 11. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is negative 42 divided by 3. 3 goes into 4 one time. 3 times 1 is 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. And then I bring down my 2. 3 goes into 12 4 times. So I'm left with negative 14. So I have negative 25 is equal to negative 14 minus 11. Negative 14 minus 11. Since they're both negative or they're both subtraction, I actually have to add them. So I have 14 plus 11. 4 plus 1 is 5. 1 plus 1 is 2. And that gives me negative because they are both negatives. So that's equal to negative 25. My left side is equal to my right side, so I can check those out. So I know that my answer was r is equal to negative 42. I want you to make sure that you glue these notes in, and then I want you to get started on your assignment. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. But before you raise your hand to ask any questions, be sure to refer back to your notes.